Hi.
You will see in front of you, which most of you are studying, the lead sheet, so to do with opening leads. The reason that looks like a lot of information is because opening leads is quite a tricky subject, but I'll talk about it in a short while. But that is a bit of a pre-prepared notes for you to take away rather than having to scribble down whatever it is I say. That is about as extensive as I felt I could go. That you could go on and on and on about opening leads, but that's kind of standard, if you will. First things first. Already done something wrong. Last week. Recap to last week. So, last week we looked at responding to one no trump. So when your partner opens one no trump, you learn something very specific about their hand. What three things do we know about our partner's hand? Balanced. 12 to 14 points, so I suppose that's all. Say that again. With the third one? Anything else? No? Okay. 12 to 14 points. And the third thing, which is a bit of a cheat really, is part of the fact that we already know, is that they have at least 2 cards in every suit. Which you can sort of put that in with balance, if you will. The reason I draw kind of attention to that last bit is because it structures our responding system to one no trump. So, responding to one no trump, because you know their hand very well, when they open one of a suit, you don't really know much. You know they've got some of that suit and some points. That's all you really know. Here you've got a very precise number of points, and you know their balance, so you've got a lot more info. You can be more clever responding to one no trump. So, when you bid 2 of a suit, what does that mean? What did we learn last week? What does 2 of a suit mean?
Weak takeout.
Weak takeout, which means what? How many cards would you have in that suit?
So you've got, well, you definitely don't want to be playing in no trumps for sure. Is the important bit. So
That's important.
You might have 4, you might have 5. Sorry, you might have 5. 5 plus.
You want 5. If you did it with 4, it might be the right thing to do. But if your partner turns up with 2, you would end up in trouble.
Yeah.
More trouble than you were in originally. So you want 5 plus cards. What's the maximum number of points? 0 to... How many might you think game is on? 25 is what makes game.
So 10.
So if we had 11, game could be on, couldn't it? So up to 10 is where you do this weak takeout stuff. What that says is... that's not the right word. It's not you've done the wrong thing by opening, but the fact that you've opened the bidding, I'm not excited about, really, is what you're saying. So when you bid at the 2 level, it says, okay, I hear you, this is where we're playing. That's unusual because normally when you bid a new suit as responder, that's a forcing bid, a bid where you want more info. But when it's opposite one no trump, you don't need that because you already know everything about their hand, pretty much. So 2 of a suit says, go away, I'm playing here. Simply. The weaker you are, the more important it is that you make this weakness takeout. If you had 0 points, your partner's chance of making one no trump are zilch. Your chance of making 2 of your suit, yes, that's close to 0, but it's better than one no trump. It's just better. Kind of a damage limitation thing. Now, if you have more points, if you had, let's say 12, because 11 gives me a slight headache. Let's say 12 points. If you had 12 plus points, and 5 plus cards, you would do what instead?
3.
3 of your suit. Now if your suit was diamonds or clubs, you could probably just ignore it and just bid 3 no trumps, because we don't care about diamonds or clubs. If you have 5 of a major, it's very important you get that across, because if you have 5 of a major, your partner could have 3, 4 or even 5 of that major as well. So you need to be playing in the major in preference to no trumps. This whole bidding structure, as I said right at the very first bidding lesson, it's all about gaming a major first, then gaming no trumps, and then no one cares about the minors. The whole thing, it runs throughout all of your bidding. So this 3 of a major says, do you want to be in, I want to be in game, which game do you want? Do you want this suit? Or do you want that? Depending on how many hearts they have. So if North bid 3 no trumps, how many hearts do you think North would have for that bid? 2. Why won't they have more? What would they bid if they have more than 2 hearts?
That's 2.
They would bid 4 hearts. Game in hearts in preference, yeah, because you've got an 8 card fit. Why can't they have fewer than 2?
Because there's
There's a balance, right. So therefore, they either bid 3 no trumps with 2 hearts, or they bid 4 hearts with 3 or more hearts. That's what you're asking them to do. If you had 6 cards, You can
So
be
if the respondent bids 3 hearts, what would they would pass?
no, it's forcing 3 no trumps or 4 hearts, depending on whether they like hearts or not. Because they've jumped, they want to be in game. So when they've jumped to 3, they're saying I've got 12 or more points. I would like to be in game.
Yeah.
It's possible, of course. They've got 12, you've got 12. You've not quite got enough for game, and you go off. But the odds are that it won't. So that's why we do that. So 3 hearts makes them pick, really. If you had 6 cards, you could be guaranteed of a fit. That's because your partner has promised you 2, because they're balanced. So therefore, you don't even have to ask a question. You just bid the contract you think is sensible. Okay? This is only with majors. If you had minors, you just bid 3 no trumps or 2 no trumps or pass, depending on where you fit in the point range. You don't bother mentioning your minor. If you're very, very weak with a minor, you could bid a weak takeout, because obviously you're desperate to get out of 1 no trump there. But if you're good, you don't bother mentioning it. Okay? All happy? Yeah? Good. Right.
Just explain that last bit about if you're very weak in one, you'd bid.
Yeah, if your hand was. I'm saying don't bid minors,
Yeah.
because if you want to be in game, just bid no trumps. But if you were weak with a minor, I mean, I'll make it ridiculous, but obviously you don't have to be this weak.
So it's really quite rare that you'd want to pay in a minor.
It is
In reality, yeah.
In reality, yeah. If your partner own 1 no trump, they're in all sorts of trouble with you putting this down as dummy. So if clubs are trumps, you will at least take some tricks. So I would bid 2 clubs as a weak takeout with that hand. I'm not excited. You know, I'm sort of wishing someone would say, oh, I've only got 12 cards and then you can claim a redeal or something. But you've got to do something. So if you bid, don't be frightened of bidding minors, but only really bid them if you're desperate to not play no trumps. If you've got a decent hand, just bid no trumps, whatever number that is.
But how many points would you have if you? Would you be safe in bidding 3?
Would bid 3. I would bid 2.
Bid
2 clubs, and 2 clubs is 0 to 10. So if you've got
Right,
0,
yeah.
that's because you can know with their 12 to 14, you know game isn't on.
Yeah.
So you're okay bidding with no points.
Yeah.
And in fact, you must bid with no points here, because 1 no trump is getting slaughtered.
Yeah.
Your partner is going to have a miserable time. Sort of 4 or 5 off. Whereas 2 clubs won't be 4 or 5 off. Yes, you'll go off, but it won't be 4 or 5 off, so it's damage limitation. Obviously, I hope you never get that hand, but you have to have a way of dealing with it should you get that hand. Okay?
Have you put that hand
Maybe. Who knows? Well, I do. Now, what we're looking at tonight is defence. Now, defence is obviously a huge, huge part of the game. You defend, when you play the cards, you defend 2/3 of the time, because one third of the time you declare it, 2/3 of the time you're a defender, which is 1 complete one, and that's because I'm discounting dummy. Because when you're dummy, you can't do anything. Just kind of watch your partner and hope that they play that 7 of diamonds because it's a winner, and oh god, they've played another trump and that kind of stuff. So as a dummy, you don't really do anything. So three different scenarios of you playing, 2 of them are defending. So it's a huge, huge subject. So I can't possibly cover the entirety of defence because it's a massive subject. And in my opinion, the most interesting because you've got to work together. Whereas a declarer, you can see all your stuff. So I find that easier personally. Now, the most important thing about the defence is the opening lead. You will hear a lot of people, when they play bridge, go, oh, what did you lead? What that means is, what was the first card you led? Because it often shapes the entire contract, depending on what you started with. Oh, they led a spade, that's why I went off. Or, oh, they led a heart, silly them, I made +1. It often it all falls on that very first card, which is a huge pressure position to be in. And to be honest, I hate being on lead, because you think, oh, I'm going to make the wrong lead, and oh, they're going to make an overtrick, and yada yada. So what I'm going to give you tonight is a guideline as to what to opt for an opening lead, what are good opening leads, and what are safe opening leads, and what are bad opening leads. Okay? It will be counterintuitive, I promise you that. Now, let's give us a scenario. They have to be declarer, naturally, because you're an opening lead. So, I make the bidding very simple. We are passing, nothing's happening. They bid 1 spade, 4 spades, and that's it, they're in game. Okay, whether in game or not, the important differentiation you need to make is, are you defending a trump contract or are you defending a no trump contract? They are different creatures, so you make different leads against them because they are different. Defending trump contracts is more frequent than defending no trump contracts. That's because there are 4 trump contracts and only 1 no trump contract. So you would tend to be defending trump contracts more often. Now, the best opening lead you can make is top of touching 2, top of a sequence. So against trumps, if you have a sequence of 2 honours, ace king, king queen, queen jack, something that's touching, you lead the top of those. The reason for that, the best sequence being the ace, The reason for that, if I give us a little hand here, obviously that hand, there's only one suit to lead. I'm making it easy for myself. The reason for leading top of touching 2, with the best sequence here being ace-king. Ace from ace-king is your favourite lead, because it doesn't do anything. It wins a trick, it doesn't give anything away. One of the best reasons for leading this is that you get to see the dummy. The reason the opening lead is so difficult, and most players agree it's the most difficult part of the game, the opening lead, is because you are leading blind. You can't see dummy, and you can't see declarer's hand. You can only see 1/4 of the information. You're used to half the information. You're used to these 2 hands when you're defending. But the very first card you play, arguably the most important, is left blind. You can only see your own hand. So it's a very important stage, and a stage, frustratingly, you have very little information. So, sequences are very good. If you have a sequence against a suit contract, top of touching 2, you lead that. It's as simple as that. A sequence wants to contain an honour being a card that's 10 or above. So if you have an honour sequence, Jack 10, Queen Jack, the better the sequence, the better. So Ace King Queen Jack 10 is obviously very good. You just kind of keep going down them until they trump them. The beauty of Ace from Ace King is you start off with the ace, you get to see the dummy, and now you can structure what you think the defence is going to go like. You can see that they've got a very weak diamond suit, so you try diamonds. Or you can see that they've got a very weak heart suit, so you continue hearts. Or you can see that they've bid way too much. They've forgotten how to bid, so now you know to step back and stop giving things away. Depending on what the dummy appears, you will get a sense for how the hand's going to go. Oh, they're going to make this easily, I better attack. Or, oh, they're going to really struggle, I better not give anything away. That is eking into general defensive principles. But if you think they're going to make their contract, you want to try to be as attacking, as optimistic as possible. If you think they're going to struggle, you want to give nothing away. One of the reasons being on lead is bad is because your team plays first and third, their team plays second and fourth. That is a distinct advantage for them. Not only do they get most of the points, theoretically, and a trump suit, they also get to play fourth on the first trick. It's a huge advantage, because whatever you lead, whatever your partner produces, declarer has a chance of beating it. This is why sequences are so good, because it does not cost anything. The ace from the ace king does not cost anything. Hopefully we're going to win a trick, and it's not given anything away because we've won that ace, and we've not cost anything, because we still have control of that suit.
But if you had a sequence where it wasn't the ace running it, then you might well lose it.
You may well lose the trick. So if I decrease, the ace king is the best sequence.
Yeah.
If I decrease the sequence and make it as a worse quality, notice they're still touching. Still have to be touching. If you lead king from king queen, yes, that might get beaten by the ace. Frequently it does, because normally they've got the ace. But what you are doing is establishing a trick for your side. The king drives the ace out. When you regain the lead, if possible, you will make your queen. Of course, that's not going to happen all the time, because you might not get the lead, or they might trump it. But the theory is that it's a good idea. If they've got the ace and only the ace, then we're never losing any anyway, so you didn't give anything away. But your idea here is you're trying to promote this queen as a trick. Of course, your partner could have the ace, and then you just kind of keep playing them, because everything's gone nicely. But the better and better your sequence, the more attractive it is. But a sequence is still good. So if I make it really, really, really bad, the worst sequence you can have, sequence, don't forget, contains an honour, so the worst sequence you can have is that. 10-9. Again, I'm not enthralled to lead a heart. I'm not thinking, oh, I can't wait to lead a heart. It's just the safest thing to do. Whenever you lead an honour, it promises the honour below it, so it's just good. It's just a good lead.
So you would lead that?
I would lead 10 from 10-9 because I have nothing else to do. My hand is so bad. You know, to be honest, I'm sort of half falling asleep, but it's still the right thing to do, to lead the 10.
Rather than the doubleton.
Yeah, the doubleton's an option. The doubleton's an option. I'll come to that in a minute. But yeah, sequences tend to win. I mean, this sequence is obviously naff. So. Now, if you do not have a sequence, then you need to think of something else. But sequence is really the first thing you should come to. What I'm assuming in this bidding is that we have had no indications from our partner. If your partner bid diamonds like a lunatic, you probably ought to lead a diamond. That's probably fair to say. So as kind of, if they bid a suit and then even bid it twice, they really would like that suit led. So that is a good clue to get you out of the problem situation of being on lead.
That's on declare.
Yeah, if they overcall 2 diamonds and then they bid 4 spades or something, then they're suggesting they like diamonds. That's why it's quite important you have a good quality suit when you make an overcall, because it's quite lead directional. It says, you know, lead one of these if you get the chance. There's two good
How
reasons.
do you know what sort of level of one to dine of?
I'll come to that in a minute. There's two good reasons why leading their suit is a good idea. Firstly, it's because they probably have good cards in it, and secondarily, if it's wrong, you can blame them because they did. So you're out in the hot seat wherever they were. Now, if you don't have a sequence, which you won't always have a sequence, let's give us a smattering of points rather than a bad hand. If you don't have a sequence, which we don't, 2 touching honours, you can't lead an honour. So if you lead an honour, it promises, black and white, promises the honour below it. So if you lead the ace, you are promising the king. You lead the king, you're promising the queen. It's not a suggestion, it's an absolute promise. Because if you lead the ace without the king, you've killed nothing with your ace and you're not now in control of the suit. It's a really bad idea. So, if you don't have a sequence, you can't lead an honour. Therefore you have to lead a small card. A card that isn't an honour, 9 or below. So we get a bit more sophisticated here, and we say the number of small cards suggests whether we like the suit or not. So if you lead a baby one, whether it's a 2 or a 7, what does that mean? Does that mean you like the suit or not? Do you want that suit back, or are you just leading it because you've got nothing else to lead? So what we say is, I better give us a suit with nothing in it, otherwise that doesn't make sense. I'll give us some numbers in the suits that are relevant. 8, 2, wait, 7, 2.
You've got 2 twos.
Different suits.
Oh, that's very true. I'm just checking you were concentrating.
Oh, well, nice try. So we don't have a sequence, that's the first thing. Our partner hasn't bid, so we don't have any idea of what's going on. So we don't really often, I don't want to say it forever, but leading a trump suit, especially holding the ace, is not always a good idea because they'll tend to want to draw your trumps. So your options really, I'm going to say our options are hearts or clubs. Yes, you could lead a diamond, I'll come to that in a minute. If you lead a heart, let's say, you have a choice between which small one to lead. Notice the king or jack are both wrong because the king promises the queen, which you don't have, the jack promises the 10, which you don't have. So those two are definitely incorrect. The choice is these two. Now in theory it doesn't matter, because what you're doing when you're leading a small one is you're hoping your partner has some help. If your partner has the ace, great. If they have the queen, that's still good, because they're still building tricks for you. But you are relying upon your partner to help you. That's because you have not got a sequence yourself. So you're hoping your partner can help you with the queen or the ace. What we do is we define whether we lead a baby one or a not so baby one as to whether we like the suit or not. So the little rhyme, or the little saying, I suppose, is low like, high hate. So if you lead a low one, you like the suit that you have led, i.e. you wish for it to be led back, if possible. If you lead a high one, you dislike the suit you've led, but you've led it because you don't have anything else to lead. You've chosen it because you've got no honours, or nothing, you've got a bad hand, or you don't know what to do. Quite frequently you'll find yourself on lead and you go, I don't know what to lead, so I'll just lead one of them because I don't know what else to do. That happens. But you tend to prefer doing something more proactive if you can do so. So if we were to lead a heart, which heart would you lead? The 2. The 2 is the strongest signal you can give that you like the suit. However, you can't like the suit so much that you have a sequence. So it promises an honour of some description, but it doesn't promise touching honours, because if you had touching honours, you wouldn't be leading a baby card. So you can start to see they can build pictures already. Just by them leading a certain card, you start to get a feel for what they're doing. This comes with time. I'm not expecting you to be able to do that like that. If we were to lead a club, what club would you lead? Something that isn't the 2, basically. The 2 would suggest you want the clubs back. It's not true, is it? So either of these two seemingly are fine, aren't they? Doesn't matter. As long as you are quite clear, the 9 and 7 are both fairly clear, I don't wish for this suit to be returned. It is possible you get a suit where the lowest you can do still looks kind of high. That can happen. I can't help you there. You just got to do the best. So you do your best and hope your partner works it out, because they can see the 4, the 5 and the 6 and the 3 goes and they go, well, where's all the big cards? I'd like to think that happens a lot less than
So
you might
wouldn't you
think.
in that, Why wouldn't you in that situation lead a low club, telling them you don't want clubs?
I would lead, yeah, in this situation, because I'm fearing that the 7 of hearts might be misleading,
Yeah.
I may well opt for a club, but not the lowest club, because that would suggest
Yeah,
a
you
club
need 7
return.
or, sorry, 9
Yeah,
or 7.
yeah. But yeah, if you feel like it's going to be ambiguous, which this feels like it is going to be, doesn't it? You might opt for something else. Yeah, that's reasonable. But the important thing is, if you haven't got a sequence, you are leading a small card, whether you like it or not. Now, the small card you lead passes a message. That's the very important thing. Now, you can agree whatever you like, but the standard agreement is low like, high hate. So, next question potentially is, well, what's a high card? So, 9 certainly is high, 2 certainly is low. As you get towards the middle, it starts to get grey. So 3 and 4 are pretty clear, 5's getting murky, 6 is very murky, 7, 8 and 9 are starting to get clearer again. So you can see the 6 mark is where it gets a bit dodgy. I consider 6, 7, 8, 9 as high and 2, 3, 4, 5 as low, just because you just split them down the middle. Of course, as I said, you might have this scenario where it is not as easy. You tend to find that happens less than you might think. And you can see on the handout I've given you, there's a honours, which is green, and then high hate, red, and then low light, blue. It's split up fairly sensibly, in the sense that you've got 5 honours, then 4 and 4. If you can tell the truth, do your best to. But of course, declarer is also listening, so you're giving something away to them as well, assuming they're eavesdropping. So if you don't have an honour sequence, you lead low from an honour. If you don't have an honour sequence or an honour, you just lead a high card to try and say, I don't wish for this suit to be returned. Now, one thing we haven't covered against trump contracts, if I give us an extra card somewhere, let's say here. Against trump contracts, it can be a reasonable idea to avoid yourself of a suit, to get rid of a suit, so that should that suit be led again, you can trump in. Now, when I get to no trumps in a second, you'll realise that's obviously not a good idea, because you can't trump. But against trump contracts, that's an extra layer, if you will. Leading a singleton is what they're known as, a singleton. It voids yourself of that suit, and if your partner has the ace, you are delighted. Because they have the ace, if they return that suit, you're going to trump it right now, and there's nothing the declarer can do, should your partner have the ace. So a singleton is often a good lead as well.
Sorry, ace of what?
Ace of diamonds. If you lead a low diamond,
Why would you trump their ace?
no, they play the ace, and then should they return a diamond, you then trump it on the next round. The fact that they have the ace of your singleton suit is a dream come true. It won't always happen though, of course. So you might opt for, with a singleton, you might opt for leading a singleton diamond.
Which could mislead your partner.
It could, depending on the number on it.
Yeah.
So that's why it gets a little bit tricky, because you're thinking, they've led a low diamond, I've got the ace, there's king, queen in dummy, what? Then you go, oh, hang on a minute. So there can be some confusion. That's where it gets a little bit tricky. Now against no trumps, it isn't, because you don't have this extra layer. It's just low light, high hate.
Why would you know it was in dummy if it was a lead?
Because I'm thinking of this person now.
Oh, sorry.
Because if they've led, let's say, the 2 of
Yeah.
diamonds, and the
Yeah.
king, queen,
And
jack's
then
there, and you've got the
that-
ace,
that-
you're
yeah.
going, what? Either they've forgotten, or something else is going on. So, a good principle is, if in doubt, return your partner's lead, because if it is this singleton scenario, they're very upset if you don't. If their singleton happens to be high, you've got to make a decision. But it's quite difficult with singletons, because you're restricted in whatever number you've been dealt. You've been dealt a 7, you've been dealt a 7. You've got to lead a 7. But this is an extra layer of complexity. What I would like to say is, singleton leads tend to work quite well, because you do quite frequently get the chance to trump. But again, of course, declarer is listening to what you're trying to do, so they may well smell or act, and they might sense what you're up to, especially if they're looking at 9 or 10 of this particular suit. They will certainly think that you're up to no good. Okay? So leading against trump contracts, just a little recap. Top of a sequence, low from an honour, shortage, leading a singleton. If you happen to have a doubleton, if I go back to this scenario, you can lead top of a doubleton. If you have an honour in that doubleton, you don't want to lead it, because if you lead top of an honour, that would promise the honour below it, and that's a big fib. So you could lead something like 9 from 9-2. Again, that's trying to void yourself of a suit. Of course, this is less attractive because it takes a lot more effort. You need partners to have ace and king, or an entry and one of the two. So top of a doubleton is nowhere near as good as a singleton.
So some of these rules have to be seen in conjunction with another rule.
They all stack together, yeah. They're all branches of the same tree, if you will. Now, what you tend to find is, and I'm not expecting you to memorise the entirety of this, because it is quite a lot of information, is you tend to find this just comes with general card play. Once you've agreed a certain system of leads, you then tend to find why they work and why that didn't work because you didn't follow the rules and so on and so forth. That just comes with practice.
So if you just turned up next door, do you always turn up with a partner, or do you pick
Not
someone?
necessarily, you
So
could play with random.
Do you have
This
a
is-
quiet chat before you start then?
Yeah, you say. You do, but this is considered
There
standard.
seems to be a lot of talking next door.
This is considered standard leads. So when they say what leads are we playing, you can play all sorts. You can play reverse leads, which means low, hate, high, like. Don't. You can play Polish leads. It's all sorts of different leads, but we're playing standard leads. So standard leads is this. Is what I'm teaching you. 95% of people play standard leads. So you could just say standard leads next. You don't have to worry about it. So, shortage, top of a sequence, low from an honour, that kind of jazz. If you have the ace in a suit, that is considered an honour, of course, because the ace is a suit. The ace is an honour, I should say.
Is that why you've written not ace there?
Yeah. Getting to this point now. And 4, 2. There is something known as underleading an ace. Now, underleading an ace is only referring to trump contracts. And what it refers to is leading away from an ace without having played your ace because you had low from an honour. Now, the reason this is such a bad lead, which seems to break what I've just said, if you lead low, surely, low from an honour, this is the best honour. So surely that's the most attractive time to do it. The reason this is dangerous is because you were guaranteed a trick in this lead, assuming no one's dropping it, and you might now never make your ace. Because they might win their king, they play all their diamonds, run away, throw away their hearts, suddenly you've not made a trick out of your ace. This is a cardinal sin, leading low away from an ace. Again, this is only against trump contracts. Leading low away from an ace against no trumps is okay, because you will make that ace. Unless they've got 13 tricks, which is highly unlikely. So underleading an ace is known as a really, really big no-no. So when I say low from an honour, I mean any honour but the ace. I can't... Yes?
What if you had ace and a queen?
Ace, queen, still the same thing.
Same thing.
If you had ace, king, of course, you can lead the ace because you've got sequence.
Yeah.
But ace, queen, you really don't want to lead that suit because you want that suit led
Ace
to
and
you.
trumps.
Against trumps, yeah.
So what would you start with?
I would not... That is the last card I would lead. Well, I suppose the 9 and 4 of hearts are also in there. I would lead something else. So I'd lead either a mid-league club or top of a doubleton diamond. The reason you don't lead away from an ace, you just have to take my personal experience on this, is it goes badly. Just trust me on that. You need your partner to have the king and exactly the king for it to work. Because if they have anything other than the king, you've given the suit away. Because they're going to win things potentially they shouldn't have. Just going to have to trust me on that one. This rule is so important that at Leeds Bridge Club they've got a tin, and any time anyone's caught under leading an ace, they have to put a pound. And that's, yeah, honestly,
Is the tin full?
it's often full, yeah. The thing that really kind of irks me is I see players under lead an ace, their partner plays the king, and they go, oh, that was a good idea, and then they do it again and again, and it's a really bad idea. You will see some, I can't stress that enough.
You wouldn't lead the 4 either. That was.
I would rather eat the hearts than lead the hearts. That's how important it is, okay?
That's not a very good hand, really, is it?
Not really.
No.
But on lead often you try and just to not be on lead anymore.
Yeah.
So I would avoid these suits entirely, I would just lead one of these. I'm not enthralled.
Top of a double.
Yeah. But I'm not thinking, hooray, partner's got ace, king of diamonds, and I'm just trying to get off lead. Again, being on lead, you're first and third, so it's a disadvantage. So if you can lose the lead, that's often a good idea, which sounds counterintuitive because it means you've lost the trick, but at least you're playing second and fourth. Then on. Right, now, leading against no trumps is... Yes?
You've also put unprotected ace as a bad lead, but...
Yeah, that's essentially leading an ace
No,
without
but
a
in
king.
that particular one, they just bid a spade contract, and you were saying before about not giving anything away before the dummy's put down. So if you let the ace of spades there...
It wouldn't give anything away, but it would also be drawing the trumps for them. So on the ace of spades, they will play the 2 and the 4. So you've not killed anything with the ace. So yes, the ace of spades won't give anything away, and it will win the trick. It's still a bad idea, because you wish for the ace to do more work than that.
And you're also saying, in theory,
That you've got a king.
King.
Yeah. Now you're leading trumps, so they think, well, what? You've got the ace, king, and trumps. That's unusual. But it's still implied. Now leading an unprotected ace is essentially breaking all the rules. You're leading an ace without the king, And so you're playing the ace, they don't play anything big, and you've won your ace, but you were entitled to win that ace at a later date. What you've done, which is really bad, is you've killed nothing with your ace. So it's as if the ace didn't exist. Yes, you took a trick and that's it. But if you sit back on this ace, you tend to find you kill something with it. Because someone somewhere plays a heart and you can kill the ace, the king or the queen with it.
What if the ace was a singleton?
Still same thing, I wouldn't lead it. It's a reasonable idea because you get rid of that suit and then you get your partner in and then they lead one back. The problem is the ace promises the king and your ace still hasn't killed anything.
Okay.
An ace singleton is a classic trap lead because it looks good but it's actually not.
And it could easily be trump later on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, leading against no trumps, I'm going to change the bidding ever so slightly, but it's basically the same thing. That's exciting bidding for you. Leading against no trumps, now it's much easier, you'll be glad to hear. That's because you always lead your long suit. Leading your long suit against no trumps is correct, or in theory correct, because what you're trying to do is establish your suit as length winners. So what you're hoping is, you play your suit enough times, they've run out of your suit, therefore your little cards are winners. So just like when you're playing in no trumps as declarer, you play on your long suit, trying to make it so that they run out. It's the same principle, but in reverse. So when you lead, so the suit that you wish to lead is kind of identified for you, because it's your longest suit. So that takes away a lot of the stress, because you don't have a choice, really. I mean, you do have a choice. If you want to be weird, you can be. But you would lead a heart, outside of any other information. Of course, if they bid hearts like lunatics and then finish in 3 no trumps, I mean, I would still lead a heart, but you suspect it won't work as nicely. So, leading against no trumps, it's the same principles, but the suit's chosen for you. Now, the only slight difference is, to lead sequence, you want 3 in the sequence, not 2 in the sequence. The reason for that is, it's quite likely that suit will be played a fair amount, so that you need more backup, if you will. So if we had the suit of, should have done this already, Queen, Jack. Against trump contract, you would lead top of an honour run. So king from king queen or queen from queen jack. That would be fine. Against no trumps, hearts is the suit you're leading. Your choice is queen from queen jack or small from an honour. Both are reasonable in theory. The reason you need 3 in a sequence against no trumps is because it will be played more often. Your hope is this suit will be played in its entirety if you get your own way. So you need 3 in a sequence to play an honour in no trumps. That's the only real difference between leading against trumps and no trumps, is you want a better honour sequence to lead an honour. So if I had this one, I would lead a baby one. If I had this scenario, I would lead this. 3 in a sequence is definitely good enough to start from the top. You will hear, you might have heard, someone say 4th down of your longest and strongest. It's a well-known bridge saying. What that means is you lead your long suit. The reason it's 4th down is because you are forced into having a 4-card suit. Because you must have a 4-card suit because you've got 4 3s, 1 card's got to go somewhere. So you have to have a 4-card suit. So the reason it's 4th down is because then it makes beginners know that it has to be the bottom card.
If you had the queen, wouldn't that just get...
It would get ace or king.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what you're trying to do is dislodge their ace and king, so that then your 10 and hopefully your little baby ones are also winners.
Oh, right, so you would sacrifice perhaps
Yes.
one or
Potentially two of them,
yeah.
if your partner has neither.
Yeah.
But if you knock out their ace of hearts, they knock out your king of diamonds, you knock out their king of hearts, then they knock out your queen of diamonds, you go 10 of hearts, small heart, small heart.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a battle in no trumps, it's a race, if you will. What you want to try to get out of the mentality of is winning on the opening lead. It's not about winning that trick, it's not about winning the whole hand, it's about doing things that are sensible, that will either build tricks or not give tricks away. That's the important thing. You will never be able to, well, never's again the wrong word, it's very unlikely you'll be able to take the contract off whilst you're still on lead. Ace, king, you know, it's very, very unlikely. So what I'm trying to construct is a safe defence which also builds tricks for your side, whilst not giving anything away. Okay? As a little disclaimer, you will tend to find you will make the wrong lead some of the time. I make the wrong lead, they all make the wrong leads, everybody who plays bridge will make the wrong lead sometimes. Wrong being, it didn't work for the hand. It doesn't mean it was the wrong idea, it just means the cards were in the wrong place or they were against you. That can happen. You know, don't feel like every lead you make, you are expecting brilliant success. It's just not going to happen. But an opening lead is so vital, so you really want to try to follow this pattern that I've laid out for you. Okay? Now, I appreciate that chunks of information. So you've got that sheet to refer to, if you wish. When you find yourself on opening lead tonight, you are in the hot seat. There is a special reason I've made you on lead with these hands, wherever they are. So, take your time.